Welcome. Today's webinar I'm very excited about is personalized learning with Moodle. And there are so many tools and things that we can do. I'm very excited to share this one with you. My name is Dr. Tammy Frame, and I'm the Chief Education Officer at eClass for Learning. This is my contact information, and for those of you that weren't able to join us live today, if you have questions following the webinar that you want to send to me, I'd be happy to answer those. eClass for Learning is a full solution open source e-learning provider. So we support several open source LMS solutions. We do course development. We help with onboarding and support. We have solutions for advanced reporting and analytics, which we're going to look at today because you absolutely need good analytics to help manage a personalized classroom. We help with e-commerce for our clients that are selling courses online. We can host LMS solutions. We can integrate the LMS between different systems that you might have. And we also have programmers on staff and developers on staff that can customize your LMS for you as well. So, okay. With that, I want to move from the PowerPoint slides to a course that I created. As I was thinking through this webinar, I was thinking of the best way to present it would be to demo a personalized learning course and what that would look like, because there are so many tools, but how does that look like when it all comes together? So I have a test course for personalized learning that I'm going to show. I needed some content for this course, and so I used a white paper that I liked very much, made by Education Elements, called the Core 4 of Personalized Learning, the elements you need to succeed. So you'll be seeing different things related to that white paper throughout my demo course here. So kind of the underlying engine, I think, of personalized learning, of getting this course going, really everything kind of was tied in through the competencies. And first of all, with competencies in Moodle, you need to have them enabled by the site administrator before teachers can use them. And also you have to have the site administrator upload your competency frameworks. So that could be your standards or your benchmarks, whatever it is that you want content tied to. So then as an instructor, you can go out and pick from which framework is appropriate and pick the appropriate competencies that relate to your course. So in this course, we have 5 competencies, and they relate to the Wisconsin Teacher Standards is what I pick. So right away, it's giving me a little bit of a report. If I'm an individual in the course, it would tell me individuals can look at this, and it would tell how many of those competencies they have achieved, like a progress bar. They would tell which ones students are least proficient in or haven't made the least amount of progress in. Then it goes ahead and shows me each competency. It tells the title, the description, and then it tells you how we're measuring this. So the first one is teachers understand that children learn differently, and in order to get that competency, they have to successfully complete this course. And then there are activities that have been aligned to those competencies. So there is a Moodle lesson that we're going to look at a little bit later that on creating flexible content that relates to this competency. And then if I go a little bit farther, teachers know how to teach. And here there are 3 things that that align to it. Creating a movie, submitting a personalized learning plan, or completing a personalized learning exam. And then teachers are able to plan different kinds of lessons. Those same 3 activities align to this competency. Teachers are able to evaluate themselves. We're going to look at a self-evaluation that can be done electronically. And then teachers are connected with other teachers and the community. I have 2 discussion forums that are aligned to that competency. So students can come in and see this as well. It'll show their own competencies and how far they are, but it also shows how the course is aligned to the competencies and what activities help them with what competencies. Because again, in personalized learning, we want students to take more ownership of their own learning. Okay, from here, I'm going to go back to the course and kind of talk about different elements and how I design them and how they support personalized learning. So we'll start out in the beginning here, and I made my course sort of like a menu. And the first sections can be done in any order, but you'll notice that the last one, they have to have the other 3 modules done before they can get into the final part of the course, okay? So I was able to make like a pathway of how I want people to progress and still give choices. And I made, I'm using the Fordson theme, and I also made it so that there's 1 topic per page. And when you pick that option in your course settings, it comes out more like a menu for each topic with, you can put an image and you can put some descriptors, and then you have to click in the area that you want to go deeper into to see what's all there. I like that because it allows users choices. They can kind of see what their options are in the menu, and it's not like that huge scroll of death that you might have seen in early Moodle courses where they're just scrolling and they see everything in the course, which can be daunting and not very engaging to students. So we're going to look first at the welcome section. So in the welcome section, I have an introduce yourself forum. And I think what we'll do is we'll turn the editing on and we'll look at how I structured that forum a little bit. So if I go to my edit settings, I have a description. Maybe we'll go to expand all, and probably the part that I want to talk about is down here. Activity completion. And so this has to do with how do we know that this is complete? And this is one of the activities that we have later on that has to be completed to go to the final part of the course. So under this, what I said is that a student must post 2 discussions or replies, and they must create at least 1 discussion. So that's what I put as completed. I also aligned with the competencies, and I said this relates to the competency. Teachers are connected with other teachers in the community. All right, so let's look a little bit at this discussion forum as well. There's a new feature in the newest version of Moodle 3.5 that I think is pretty cool. And let's say I was going to reply to this. These 2 buttons are new. So right from within the discussion, students can record audio. And so I'm thinking of different ways that students can demonstrate what they know, and it will automatically be put in the discussion board. Or if they have a webcam, like in a Chromebook, they can click this, their webcam will turn on, and they can record, and it'll show up right away in the discussion board and they can maybe demonstrate a science experiment, a physical activity for Fayed that they can do. So it could be a performance assessment. So it shows that there are different ways that students can demonstrate what they know. They could also take a picture on a phone or their Chromebook and upload that. They can attach files, lots of ways that they could discuss and demonstrate knowledge. So I like that as well. Okay, let's go back to our course and let's look at some more activities. So the next one is creating flexible content. And I should point out this as well. When you add completion criteria, then as students meet those, the system will automatically mark those complete. And depending on your completion settings and your competency settings, they can be marked off as well as things are aligned to the different competencies depending on the rules that you set. Okay, so I want to talk about a Moodle lesson. So when I went to add an activity, it's in here, there is a lesson. And what I like about the lesson is that it can branch so that there can be different paths that people can take with the content. So I think this is a great example of creating flexible content. So what happens in here is, do you want to start at the last? I'll put no, we'll start over. So again, just like those two buttons we saw in the forum, those also are in the lesson. So the teacher can record their voice with directions. They could also do a video of themselves talking along with the content as well. And so what I did is I had a simple teacher assessment, and they had to think about how they're using flexible content right now, if they're just getting started, if they're going deeper, or if they're already pretty doing quite a bit with flexible content. And then I added a quiz question, which is an option in a lesson. And I have different content based on which ones the teacher selected. So if the teacher says, I'm just getting started, it's going to branch to getting started content. And so here, I have a very easy graphic organizer that kind of explains the concept behind flexible content. We can go to next. And here's some potential first steps, and they can hear my voice talking about this as well. I don't think you'll be able to hear it on the Zoom, otherwise I would play it. And then I have some tips for them. And then when it's over, they can go back to the course. Let's try it again, and this time have it as if a teacher picks something else. So you can just see quickly that the content differs. So let's say this time we said all in and submit. So now I have some images and my voice and some things to read, and some examples from classrooms of what that could look like. And then some tips again, and then returning to the classroom. Now, let's talk about how this was designed just from the back end and see how it looks that way. So if I go to edit, from here, you can see each of the pages that I created. And then for each page, for example, for one choice, they're going to go to getting started page 1. If they had selected going deeper, they would go here. If they had all in one, they would go to the first page for all in one. If I go here into the page, this is what it looks like. So again, you can put, and this is the show more button, you know, you've got links that you could hyperlink to, you can have pictures, you could record yourself insert another video from an external video. You could record your own audio, make your own quick webcam right on the fly. You can format the text. You can have tables. You can even have HTML. You can check, these are two important ones. You can have an accessibility checker to see how accessible this content is for students with special needs. And you can also see, have a helper if you're using screen readers for students with visual impairments. Okay, so then you put in your content. I chose to make this a content page with questions. So now I could have had a multi-answer, but I didn't check that. And I put getting started. I didn't have to put a score. I wasn't really paying attention. It's a default, but you could score these. You could have no score as well. And then I have where it's going to jump to, and these are all my pages I created. So if they chose getting started, I want them to go to my getting started page 1 content. And then going deeper, and then my third answer choice was all in, and then they're going to the all in. And that's how I was able to design a branched lesson. So that's, I get very excited about this capability, and it's very easy to use. Okay, so let's go back to our course and talk about what else I've done here. Here I have a video, and I have a video reflection. And then I had some things I had said that they had to do 1 post and 2 replies to get that checked off. Let's look at the data-driven decisions. So what I wanted here is for teachers to self-assess maybe a lesson plan that they have with their assessment strategy. And again, under the activities, this time I used one called Workshop. And Workshop allows for self-review or for electronic peer review. And if you do electronic peer review, there's all kinds of things that you can set up. You can say, for example, I want everybody to be assigned 3 other students in the classroom randomly to peer review. Or if you want to manually pick who reviews who, you can drag those in there as well. And then you can set up the criteria that they'll use for the review. There can be 2 grades if they peer review or self-review. Well, I guess peer review would have 2, self would have 1. But in the peer review, you would, there's an algorithm for the average of how others have peer reviewed you. But there's also an algorithm that's kind of interesting for how well you reviewed others. And before those grades are released, we'll see this in a minute, the teacher can always override those, or they could manually grade those in their own way as well. So it's a very powerful tool, saves a lot of time and energy for peer review, plus you have an electronic record. So let's look at my review. This is from the teacher perspective. It will look different from the student if we were in a different phase. So there are different phases that you can click on, and you can go back and forth. It's not like if you move here, you can never go back. And so this would mean that now we're in the submission phase, everything's been set up, and students can submit their work. And usually you have a due date that way. Otherwise, if you're assigned to peer review somebody and their work isn't there, that's not very fun. And then in the assessment phase, they actually do the assessment. Then this is before. It shows, Moodle will show how it calculates the grades, and you can override those if you want. And then you can close it and the grades can be released. So let's go back here so we can see the construction in the setup. So in here, what I do is there's an assessment form. And so I just named it. I can put as many directions as I want. And then this is my first criterion. So I was looking for data-driven instruction, and then I gave no assessments are given, a singular source, multiple sources, multiple, and you can have as many of these as you need. And then we'll go all the way down and just kind of preview what this would look like for the person reviewing. They would have the uploaded document or piece of work to look at, and then they would select which one they thought that it fit. And then at the end, there's a place for overall feedback. And it can be anonymous, or it can be, the person can be named. And I find that this is so true, that my students will always work harder for peer review than they will for teacher review. And so this has been a very powerful tool for me, both with adult learners and with student learners. So I like the workshop. And part of personalized learning too says that we should be giving lots of feedback often to help students improve. And so that's another feedback strategy that I think is really important. Let's go through a little bit more. So now we have our final project, okay? And let's just look at this section and how I restricted it. So here is the restrict access tool, and I set up the following. I said that the student must have these things as marked complete in order to be allowed into this section. So that's how I did it. And like if I wanted to add a restriction, you could do it by completing things, you could do it by date, maybe they have to have a specific grade in the course, time required in the course, maybe something in their profile. So maybe this is a section that's in Spanish, and only if in their profile their selected language is Spanish would they have access to this. And then you can have even more nested rules that you set up that are that you could go after as well. So you have a lot of choices, and then you save that, and that's how it's restricted. Now here, I have it visible what the restriction is, so the students would see that this exists, this final project area. They wouldn't be able to click and open any of these things, but they would see that it's not available unless all of these things are complete. So if they would see that, yes, there is a final project in the way I set it up, but I need to have these things off before it will open up for me. Okay, so what I did here is I came up with multiple ways that they could show proficiency for their final project. So the first one, I have them just uploading a document or a learning plan. And so that would be one way. The next time I had an assignment where they would create a movie and upload that link, and that's how they would show proficiency. They could do a quiz. Now, one thing I want to show about quizzes too, about personalized learning that a lot of people don't know, is you can have individual parameters for the quiz as well. Where did that go? Let's see, maybe it's over here now. User overrides. So if you have a user that maybe needs more attempts than you're willing to give the rest of the class, or maybe they need more time, or they need other accommodations, you can click Add User Override, and you first have to click on the quiz and then look for settings for these overrides to appear. And then you pick the student, okay? So let's say I'm gonna give Ben sample, and maybe I give him extra time, and right now we have 30 minutes to complete. Maybe I give him 60 minutes to complete and one more attempt. Okay, so that can help you to differentiate and have different ways to help students that have different needs. Okay, back into here. Let's talk about upload an ePortfolio page. So later, I'll show you the link. Mahara is an ePortfolio product that works, it's open source and free, and it works with Moodle. And I like Mahara. We'll talk a little bit about why I like it later. But I'm also letting them submit an ePortfolio page where they took artifacts from their ePortfolio and they're going to upload that. And what happens here is if they choose that option, let's go to edit submission. When the two are single sign-on, any pages that I've created or content in my ePortfolio will show up here as a radio button. And then the user selects which one they want to submit as their assignment to be graded or to count as evidence towards their completion. Okay, so that's another option, is using an ePortfolio. Okay. Also feel free to put questions in the Q&A if you would like. I'd be happy to answer those as well. Moving to the side, I also created course badges, which are a part of Moodle. And I made one for each section. And you can see what my criteria is. So here they had to do the forum video reflection, and then they would receive this badge. And they'll get an email with the badge, and it will also show up on their dashboards with the badges that they've selected or that they've earned. It will also show up in this badges part of the course for the user. When they click there, they're going to see what badges they've received. Okay, and then they can also see, I guess basically it would be a page like this. It would show if the badge has been issued to them, and then what other ones are available to them, and what they have to do to receive that badge. And this last one, I said that they can do any one of the 3 things for the final project. So they have a choice. Any of the following would get them that badge. Okay. So the other thing that I wanted to show in this course that I get kind of excited about, let's just go back to the course. Again, I'm using the Fordson theme, which I think is really a nice, clean theme. They opt to sort of hide the course blocks. So sometimes courses can get very busy with all kinds of widgets and blocks around the sides. I kind of think this is very clean, where you just uncollapse them and then they show up. And let me just refresh this so my Zula reports show up. So first of all, I said I wanted to talk about the ePortfolio of Moodle and Mahara, and they talk to each other and are linked. So here I have single sign-on to the ePortfolio. So let's go there. And I think of Mahara as sort of an academic LinkedIn for your institution. And you, as the site admin, can set up rules, but you know, we want to give our students sort of social media experiences, but we also sometimes worry about safety. This is very safe because it's only people in your organization, and you as the teacher can track everything as well. So another reason that I like an ePortfolio solution is that an LMS or learning management system can be sort of teacher directed, right? The teacher puts in the content, the teacher determines the pathways. Today we're trying to give some more student ownership and motivation through choice and voice, through badges and different ways of demonstrating knowledge. But an ePortfolio system like Mahara is more organic and more student-centered and more driven by the student. And they decide what they're going to collect and who they're going to collaborate with and what they're going to do. And so instead of the teacher doing everything, they do it. So there are three main areas of it. You create your pages here, and you can, here I started just a fake profile page, and it these are some of the behind the scenes things that I can do. And then, okay, so then from here, what I can do is I could add media, a media block. I could add a journal block because Mahara has a journal with it. I could add personal information where they have some things like what school did you attend. I can add images, I can add text, and I just drag these into different blocks. You can edit the layout. And then these can be turned in Moodle to demonstrate knowledge, but also stay in a larger ePortfolio. Then ePortfolio pages, you can decide the user who they're going to share it with. It could be individuals, it could be to the whole world. So you have a lot of choices. Okay, this is where you control your privacy and things like that. And this is where you decide who's going to have access. It can generate a secret URL. So let's say you were going to a certain job and you only wanted that employer to see it. That can happen as well. And then I think this is very interesting. You can have different groups, and you could have students create groups, and groups can have discussion forums. They can collaborate in sort of like wikis and collaborative spaces. They can upload documents to the group, and they can work and talk as a group around things of interest. And so that might be an interesting way to group students around a topic. Maybe you have 4 possible groups they can join, and that's how they collaborate and work online. And then anything they create as a group can be turned in Moodle as well. So I think it's a really powerful, powerful tool to have. Another very powerful tool is Zula. That is a tool that we resell. Zula is advanced reporting and analytics that work for Moodle and Totara. And so what you can do is there are hundreds of ready-made templates, but you can also drag and drop anything in the database and make your own reports and charts very, very easily. And then you can drop those reports right into blocks or dashboards if you want to. And so I picked a couple dashboards out of there that we can look at. You can also schedule any of the reports or dashboards so that they are emailed to certain people at certain intervals. So you could filter them by student, let's say, and schedule that to the parent to be sent weekly, for instance. Or the principal could see the class, and it could be scheduled to be emailed in a report to them weekly or monthly or daily or whatever you want. So I already opened some of these dashboards because I think they're very, very interesting. So this one's a canned instructor dashboard, but you can make your own. You can take any of the reports in Zula or make your own and just snap them in, and you can have as many as you want and drag them around and make your own dashboard. So right now, this isn't my course, so I'm going to, it's a different course that I teach, and it knows that. And so I'm going to pick this course that I want to get analytics on and apply it. And then I can see that there are 5 students enrolled. 1 has been really active, and this is my average grade. This is very important to me. Users who have not accessed courses in the last 7 days. So those might be students that I want to think about an intervention or a phone call or things too. At a glance, I can kind of see how my class is going. And by the way, you can expand any of these reports if they're hard to read. You can also download them in any format like a PDF or Excel and work with it more. So right from here, you can change the chart type if I wanted to. So let's just change that to a bar graph. And now I've got a bar graph. Here's a heat map that's kind of interesting. I kind of like this one that shows when students are accessing the course most often. And it seems like weekends are kind of a big time for my class. So kind of interesting. If I go to my next dashboard, this is all reports related to quizzes and different quiz questions and different things like that that I might want to know at a glance. Let's see, my next one is site login activity, but this can be, we can do this by an individual too. So let's see if we can deselect everybody. These are my filters on the side and available. And let's unselect everybody. And let's go to Carlos, because I know he was in a little bit. He's a fake student that I logged in as and had him do some things. So, okay, he's selected. And then the graph should have changed for him. And let's see, where did I apply? Let's see. Need to, oh, I didn't hit apply. Okay, and then if I filtered that correctly, which I may not have, then the data changes. So that is very helpful. You can also do, there's a lot of time-based things, and there's a neat correlation chart that just came out where you can see grades correlated to time spent in the course. And again, you can expand these real simply. So I think that having very good reporting is very important in personalized learning. If you want to know how your students are doing and track that and have interventions and group and know where everybody's at. Another cool thing that can help with personalized learning is learning plans, which are kind of closely related to competencies. So if I go to the site admin, let's see here. Let's see, under courses maybe? Let's see, where's my, let's see. Let's look right here again. We should see learning plan. Yeah, learning plan templates. So there are two ways you can create a learning plan. Either for a cohort or a group, like your whole class, or for groups within the class, like if you have different groupings that you're doing, or for individuals, okay? So this, when you make a template, it's for a group of some sort, and you assign it to a cohort. And when you go here, this is where you add what cohort you want to sync it to, and cohorts are just groups. And then from here, you pick out what competencies are going to be part of this learning plan. So, and it's saying that of the competencies in this learning plan, this is very interesting to me, 5 out of 10 of them have courses that are linked to that link to these competencies. And so if you had multiple competencies and they had self-enrollment, students could make choices as to what courses they want to do or what coursework to meet the competencies. Another thing that learning plans will allow you to do is upload evidence, and an external evaluator, yourself, the teacher, or someone else can review that and mark off competencies or do a performance and mark off competencies too. So it doesn't always need to be online classes. So here, this one, the students will know what subjects they are teaching. That isn't really linked to any courses right now. But if I go to my bottom one, teachers are connected with other teachers in a community, then it shows that this course is linked to that. And so that can give students choices and a way to manage their own learning and mark off competencies. So I think that's a really interesting way to look at personalized learning as well. Okay, I'm just going to see if, are there any questions in the chat that people want to ask? That's kind of what I built for this one, but maybe you have different ways that you've personalized with Moodle or different tools that you're interested in. I'd love to hear from you. While we do that, I'm just going to go to our website and talk about an upcoming webinar that you might be interested, and that's at eClass for Learning's website, www.eclassforlearning.com. And if you go to our webinars, today's was on personalized learning, which I think is a really powerful, so many tools in the platform lend themselves well to personalized learning. On Thursday, March 14th, we are also going to do time-based reporting. So we're going to look at Zula, and we're going to talk about how do you get reports out that show how much time an individual user has spent learning. We did a little bit of that today. Or how much time have they spent in your course? Or how much time did they spend on each activity, and which activities are taking longer? What days and times? We kind of looked at that today with the heat map a little bit. How do you correlate time spent learning with student achievement? And how about time spent learning towards certificates of completion? So a lot of times we get a lot of time-based questions, and we'll show you how to generate those reports with Zula and how that can all work. If you have other suggestions for webinars, please feel free to email us back and we will put that on our agenda. We try to do approximately three a month. So with that, if there are no questions, thank you so much for attending. Give me about 48 hours to send out the link to you of the recording link, and I hope we will see you on future webinars.